On this episode of Cinema Disaster, we're going to be talking about the 1984 mockumentary, This is Spinal Tap. And this was actually Sam's choice today for this episode, and I guess, do you want to tell everybody why you picked this film?
Because a friend of mine at work had never seen it, so I showed him a couple clips, and he suggested that we review it and dedicate it to him. So this episode is dedicated to Brandon Hanna.
It's for you.
And you should watch Spinal Tap.
What clips did you show him?
The drummer, when they're talking about the drummers and how they all died. And
Yeah. One died in a bizarre gardening accident.
Yeah, one choked on vomit.
But it wasn't his own.
Wasn't his own. One...
You can't dust for vomit.
Yeah, one exploded.
Millions of people spontaneously combust.
Well, I said dozens. Dozens of people spontaneously combust each year. It's just not widely reported.
Right. So, this movie was directed by Rob Reiner, who you might know as the director from The Princess Bride or Stand By Me. He also played Meathead in All of the Family.
Mm-hmm.
He plays a documentary filmmaker by the name of Marty DeBurgi, and he's basically doing a documentary of the band Spinal Tap, and he's following them on their first American tour in over 6 years to promote their new album, Smell the Glove.
Smell the Glove is their new album, and the cover is supposed to be, you never see it in the film, but they describe it, and it's a woman. She's on her knees. She's got like a collar with a leash on it, kind of like bondage. And there's a man's hand, shoving a black glove in her face, like forcing her to smell it.
And the record company, it's what Fran Drescher's character thinks that it's sexist.
Sexist, yes.
And I remember when they asked Nigel Tufnell, what their manager Ian Faith says that the record company thinks this is sexist. And he says, what's wrong with being sexy?
He said she's going over why she has a problem with the cover, and he goes, well, you should have seen the original concept. It wasn't a glove. I can tell you that.
So Spinal Tap is David St. Hubbins, who is played by Michael McKean, who was Lenny on Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley. He was in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. What else did you say?
A lot of shit. He's been on the X-Files. He's been
Saturday Night Live from like 94 to 95.
Yeah.
And then you have Nigel Tufnell, who's played by Christopher Guest, who was in Waiting for Guffman and The Princess Bride. Then you have Harry Shearer, who plays Derek Smalls. And he's voiced a lot of characters on The Simpsons.
Principal Skinner.
Ned Flanders.
Mr. Burns. Smithers.
And just various voices here and there.
Yeah, I'm sure. Various side characters.
I know that a lot of people thought that Spinal Tap was a real band.
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne thought that it was a mockumentary of Black Sabbath on tour, which it's not. And there's been a lot of musicians out there that have claimed this movie has made them cry. Because...
It's making fun of him.
I guess
it gets a little too close.
Yeah, a little too close to reality for him, I guess. What's great about this is that almost all of the dialogue was improvised.
Yeah, and that is awesome.
They shot like over 100 hours of footage and then just kind of picked the best of the best,
Yeah, I wish they would release that. I would buy it all.
I would too. So
stock footage. If
anybody watching has the power to get that footage released, do it. I mean, you got 2 customers right here, and you probably would have a ton more. A ton of funny shit happens in this movie where they get lost backstage.
Yeah, they can't find their way out. When it shows them playing Big Bottom live, all 3 of the guitar players are playing bass. There's no guitar. It's just drums and 3 different bass lines at the same time. It's hilarious, and it works though. It sounds awesome.
That's what's great about this, is that even though Spinal Tap's not a real band, they sort of are, because they're all comedians, but they wrote all these songs.
Yeah, and they actually play it and recorded it.
Yeah. So they got like, what are some of the songs? Hellhole.
Big Bottom, Hellhole.
Big Bottom being your favorite.
Yeah.
Because you said the lyrics are great.
They are great. How could I leave that behind?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Which is a great like double meaning.
The looser the waistband, the deeper the quicksand.
Yeah, I want to sink her with my pink torpedo. And then what do they got? Bitch School.
Bitch School, Sex Farm.
Sex Farm Woman.
Tonight,
I'm Gonna Rock You Tonight. Some of their album names, there was Intravenous de Milo.
Shark Sandwich.
Which the review of it was just 2 words. Shit sandwich.
Yeah.
You can't print that.
The Gospel According to Spinal Tap.
Yeah, it said, on what day did God create Spinal Tap? And
couldn't he have rested on that day too?
Yeah. Then they do this meet and greet. I guess they're gonna do like an autographing of Smell the Glove at this record store. Yeah, it's like a record store, and nobody shows up. Which me and Sam have been in bands together for years, and we can relate to people not showing up to shows or whatever. I know there was one show we did where there was literally 2 people there. Like all the other bands left, and it was literally the singer's wife and his best friend. Let's talk about the censored album cover of Smell the Glove.
Oh yeah, so they reach a compromise,
right?
But and they get the album delivered, and they're excited to see it, and they open the box and they pull the records out, and it's just solid black. It doesn't even say anything.
Right.
It doesn't say Spinal Tap or Smell the Glove or anything. It's just completely black.
And they hate it. All of them hate it.
They think it's the stupidest idea ever.
And what's great about it is that in the early 90s, Metallica released the Black Album, which pretty much was the exact same concept, except they were serious.
Yeah, they were serious.
Yeah, and this movie predates that by, this was like 84, and they talk about how ridiculous of a concept that is.
I feel like, because didn't Metallica a few years ago release some kind of documentary about...
They did do a documentary, yeah.
I almost want to watch that because I think I would find it hilarious, even though they're not joking. But I could see them being...
Wasn't it some kind of monster? Is that what
I think
something
so.
like that?
But I could see them being very Spinal Tap-ish, but like for real.
Yeah. And I'm not even hating on Metallica. I like their early stuff. He hates them, but I like their first 4 records. Like everything after that I could do without. But, you know... Yeah, when this movie came out on VHS, it gained like a huge cult following, which it still has today. And if you've ever been involved in like the music industry or have been in a band, this is very relatable. Like you even have a similar story from when you guys signed to a record label and you were on tour in New York. What was that?
It was basically the same thing. We had some disagreements with them about what the cover should be. They want to do one thing, we want to do different things. So they said they were willing to compromise, and that's really funny. It looked like literally same scenario almost, and they finally sent us the copies. We opened it up, and it wasn't just a solid black cover.
No.
But it wasn't what we wanted, and it wasn't what we suggested.
It didn't fit your style of music either.
It didn't fit. Yeah, it didn't fit what we were trying to go for. So we were all disappointed too, and I think there were typos on the track listing.
What did you say? It was just like a gas pump or something?
No, that was the original. Like that's the one we turned down. The compromise is that red one.
Oh yeah, because there was the alternative. Because Todd designed those, and Todd was the singer of
Todd designed the one that you see online. That red one, that the actual album, that's from the record label.
The only thing cool about that is when it opens up, there's like a skateboard deck in there.
Yeah.
But like when I was in that band and we did everything independently on our own label, we had total control over like what the covers were going to look like, and there were no typos or anything. And then I leave the band, and then you guys get signed to this record label, and then there's like all this bullshit that you got to put up with, like typos, and then they don't give you what you want and whatever. And anybody watching, Todd does this really cool channel on YouTube called Vintage Spaghetti, and Sam is a part of a lot of those episodes. And some, yeah, but you'll probably be in more. And it's just like he shows off like his toy collection and movie collection and just different types of things that he picks up at flea markets, and
Yeah,
I don't know, it's interesting.
it is.
So yeah, check that out, Vintage Spaghetti. I guess like the most famous line of this film is these go to 11. These amps go to 11.
Yeah,
We got to mention that.
Yeah, we do. But then I also want to mention the line from earlier that I picked up on.
Go for it.
So the most famous thing is these amps go to 11. Well, why don't you just make 10 louder? But these go to 11. But I think my favorite line, which I just noticed tonight, is when they're at the hotel and Ian is trying to get their suites, and there was a mishap. They said they needed 7 suites, and they accidentally booked them 1 suite on the 7th floor. so Ian's talking to the guy behind the counter, and
which is the guy from the Jeffersons.
Yeah, he's getting really frustrated with him and getting agitated, and so then this. The guy calls another lady up to help, and she says something like, "Is there a problem, or what's the problem here?" And Ian says, "I'll tell you what the problem is here. This twisted old fruit." And as he's going on, the other guy looks at him very offended and says, "I am just the way God made me, sir."
Oh yeah.
And he walks away. Oh, that's great.
So yeah, that's Spinal Tap. If you like improvisation or just off the wall funny humor, absurd humor, if you've ever been in a band or you're just a fan of music in general, if you're a fan of Sam slamming energy drinks, this is the film that you should check out. It's a mockumentary. This is Spinal Tap, and until next time, keep watching.